state, which once bustled with manufacturing, mining, and farming. We all know from inspiration, history, and nature, we deserve a return to the success and growth of generations past, a birthright being squandered by corruption in Albany, and the depredations of an insecure, scheming mountebank posing as governor, who loathes both us and himself. As liberty beckoned to enslaved peoples behind the Iron Curtain via American broadcasts after World War II, we now say, believe, rise, and join us. Welcome to Radio Free New York.
Hey guys, welcome to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister, and we have Bob Savage with us.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Bob, how's it going?
Doing well, thank you.
Awesome. How's the weekend?
It was very nice. Very eventful weekend. A lot of stuff going on in the on the personal side of the ledger.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, same here. Got a lot of just like good personal stuff done, getting prepped for winter and fall, of course, but mostly winter because it's not hard to prep for fall. You just prepare yourself for good smelling crinkled leaves and apple pie cakes and stuff like that.
I miss one of the great things about fall when I was growing up. I miss the smell of burning leaves. You used to walk up and down the streets, and everybody would rake their leaves out, out into the out onto the pavement, and then you'd set fire to them, and they would smolder away, and you'd have all the neighbors out there drinking coffee, or in some cases adult beverages, and kind of tending these fires where they would rake all the leaves into these piles along the streets and burn them. Of course, that's long gone.
Yeah. I'm assuming that the reason that stopped is because people are catching stuff on fire?
No, there's never any of that. That never happened. I think it's just like an environmental thing.
Oh, okay. All right. My second guess was maybe the government made it illegal.
Well, that too.
So.
Anything that's fun and nostalgic that you like to remember is gone because of government, generally speaking.
Yeah. We should someday put together a remember when list. Just a list of all the fun things that people can remember doing that government decided can't do it for one reason or another and made it illegal. Maybe the first thing we could put on that list is traveling out of state.
I'm glad you brought that up because I don't know if do you have that 2A NYS story about Buffalo?
No. Tell me about it.
Well, you're talking about traveling out of state and how difficult it is. Well, it just so happens that civil rights advocates are gathering in front of Buffalo Niagara International Airport today to vigorously oppose pending New York Army National Guard deployments to airports across New York State to enforce mandatory travel quarantines. On hand will be 2A NYS founder Steve Filano, LibertyMovement.org CEO James Ostrowski, Erie County Libertarian Party Chair Dwayne Whitmer. You got to talk to your fellow libertarians here, Andrew. And other civil rights advocates. That's at 4200 Genesee Street, where the fountain display is. The Army National Guard will be deployed to airports across New York State to enforce these quarantines, according to WKBW. The initiative will vary from airport to airport and is being phased in now, according to a representative from the New York Army National Guard. There's no word on how many members of the Guard will be at the airport. They'll be in uniform, but will not be armed. So in April 2020, Cuomo telegraphed an executive order requiring New York Army National Guard soldiers to violate the 5th and 14th Amendment rights of upstate New Yorkers by stealing ventilators from upstate hospitals to redistribute to downstate medical facilities. Now they're going to try a repeat here by stepping on our constitutional rights to travel.
Yeah, this is interesting to me because a few points. The first is they're sending them to enforce this quarantine, but they're not going to be armed. That just sounds weird to me. I feel like there's just some like political thing, like, oh no, we gotta say they're not going to be armed. How else do you typically enforce things? But the major thing that I really think about when I hear this story is, so an airport is a port of entry into this state, and we're now sending the National Guard to ports of entry in this state to maybe detain people. I'm not sure how forcing people to quarantine, what that looks like. Does
Yeah.
that look like detaining them? Because to me, that kind of sounds like maybe we're going to be detaining people
Yeah,
at some
exactly.
point.
How do you, as the point that you bring up very validly, is how do you enforce this? I mean, so some traveler comes in, he gets off a flight from Atlanta, and he's approached by, uh, National Guard troops. He says, Chuck you Farley, it's none of your business. What are they going to do? He starts to walk away. Are they going to go confront him? Are they going to, what? Are they going to tase him?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. And then my next progression of this is okay. So we start with air travel because that is the most controlled point of entry into our state. Well, what happens when they move to trains, buses, and then the roadways?
Yep.
I mean, it's a slippery slope. It is a very, very slippery slope, and that has me pretty concerned.
Yeah, and you should be concerned about it because we have constitutional guarantees, freedom of assembly, and we're allowed to move and travel legally wherever we want to go. So
Yeah,
you're seen driving across, let's say down near Olean, between Olean and Bradford, PA, and you got a Pennsylvania plate. Now, I guess there's no problem. We can travel to Pennsylvania, isn't that right?
I think there's only like 5 or 6 states left on the list. I looked
Oh,
because
I
I'm
think
going
it's
to be doing some
no. I think it's more
traveling.
than that. I think
Well,
there's more than
that
five
you
or
can
six.
travel to, I mean.
Oh, that you can. Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah, it's easier to count the ones you can get to versus the
Right.
ones you can't.
Right. Okay, so bad example, but you get the point. I mean, so
Yeah.
somebody arrives here. They drove from a quarantine state, and they drove through Pennsylvania. And they have an out-of-state plate. What does that create a prima facie case to pull somebody over and search their car, demand documents, papers? Let me see your papers. How is this going to work?
Yeah, and that's exactly my question is if you look at the direction this is going, um, will be will be being in New York State with maybe an out of state license plate become probable cause at some point for somebody to get pulled over.
Right. That's my point. Exactly. I was having a conversation Friday. Another program here, outgoing state senator Joe Robach was here. And his sentiment was, and I think he's right about this, he said Cuomo is never going to voluntarily let go of this power. It's not going to happen. Because if he backtracks on all of these restrictions and all of these curtailments of our constitutional freedoms, implicit in that is the argument that it was never necessary in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah, and I tell you what, I mean, I just looked at the governor's website this morning, and they have a ton more that they're trying to push down. So, they've increased yet again the fines for um, multiple gatherings of multiple people. We'll talk about that later in the show. They're now creating a new quarantine cluster program, which we'll talk about more too. And they're even creating phases as to who is going to be allowed access to the COVID vaccine when it comes out. So, talk about control when you've spent months and months and months of pushing fear onto people and making them really, really afraid for their life, shutting down the economy. So now they're not just afraid of for their health, but they're also afraid for their economic, outlook in life if they can pay their bills. And now you, as governor of the state, have created a program to determine who does and doesn't get a vaccine for something that you've been pushing to make people afraid of for a very long time. And that's me right there. I mean, that's a perfect example of a way to use fear to control people. And now you have something you're going to tell them that could keep them healthy and maybe allow them to work, but they only get it if you say so based on your criteria.
By the way, this is imminent too. I can't remember. I'm just blanking on what the name of the vaccine manufacturer is. The pharmaceutical company. It's one of the major ones. It might be Pfizer. I don't know if it's Pfizer or not. But they're going to have this vaccine is rolling off the assembly line as we speak.
Yeah.
And the projections are that it will be available to the public before the end of the year. 100 million doses.
Yeah, and just think about that. They're talking about the end of the year, and Cuomo's already sitting here thinking about who's going to be allowed to have it, who's not going to be allowed to have it.
Democrats first.
There you go. Guys, you were listening to Radio Free New York. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in a moment.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Escape from the everyday to a getaway at Woodcliff Hotel and Spa. Woodcliff features elegantly appointed accommodations, creative cuisine, themed suites, full-service spa Elan, and is Rochester's best venue for outdoor wedding receptions overlooking the city skyline. Woodcliff Hotel and Spa, where the experience is extraordinary. Located in Fairport, call 585-381-4000 or visit woodcliffhotelspa.com.
A reminder from Abate Monroe County. American bikers aim toward education. Distracted driving is dangerous, so pull over and eat. Don't try to read your mail and newspaper, and stay off your cell phone. Make a mental note to be more alert, making it a habit to expect the unexpected. Remember to look twice. Save a life. Train yourself to watch for motorcycles which are harder to see. Join Abate, and your family will be protected with a free $4,000 accident policy. Ride safe. Ride free. Ride often. Abate. If you ride with us. Google Abate Monroe County.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
All right, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. We have Bob Savage with us, and there's a lot of interesting stuff going on. Bob, I just found out you've got maybe a local story from Ithaca.
Yeah, regional story here, upstate New York, along the Radio Free New York network. This will be of interest to pretty much everybody. Police stood down, allowing Antifa terrorists to attack a group of peaceful Trump protesters, supporters in Ithaca on Friday. Quote, "We've gathered to have our Trump 2020 rally, and at 4 p.m. we were immediately met by a large group of counter-protesters. After about half an hour went by and the counter-protesters saw they had a large numerical advantage, they began crossing the street," organizer Rocco Lucenti wrote in a Facebook post. At that point, they began pushing, shoving, kicking, punching, stealing people's signs and flags, taking people's hats, and attempting to physically intimidate the crowd into surrender. It got to the point where the mob was attacking anyone who still had Trump gear on. We called the Ithaca Police Department. This is important, ladies and gentlemen. We called the IPD to let them know what was happening, but they didn't show up for a half hour and merely directed traffic away from the riot once they did show up. Mayor Svante Myrick, who is, by the way, a communist, enabled this thuggish display of violence by mobs of his voters by telling the Ithaca Police Department to stand down. Lucente noted a 60-year-old woman was accosted by the mob and suffered a dislocated shoulder due to the Antifa terror. He's urging Trump supporters to show up with overwhelming numbers for a follow-up protest next weekend. I will be posting more on this in the future, but this post has one message. The only way to respond to this is to show up a week from today in massive numbers. Tompkins County Republicans also noted the Antifa terrorism that's being celebrated by the nascent left-wing organization Democrat Socialists of America. The Cornell Daily Sun covered the event, correctly noting the Antifa terrorists instigated the violent situation. We had no idea we'd be joined by people calling us members of the KKK, organizer Nancy Sullivan said. We're not here to create trouble. Now, if you're a Cornell alum or if you have a connection with Cornell University and you support that organization with donations, you should note this. Cornell history professor Russell Rickford endorsed the terrorist display publicly, showing how institutional power works to punish conservatives and endorses violence against them. I think, quote, it's a really important in a town like Ithaca with its liberal veneer to actually demonstrate strong opposition to racist and reactionary politics, said Cornell professor Rickford, who is a member of the aforementioned Ithaca DSA. Quite often, liberalism is willing to accommodate the far right to justify it and by doing so, legitimize it. So there you have it. I mean, the Ithaca community is supporting thuggish, terroristic tactics, assault of innocent people who are simply rallying to support a presidential candidate. The Ithaca mayor and police department stood down and allowed this wanton violence to take place. Is this the country we want to live in, ladies and gentlemen?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just listening to this story and just thinking about how many issues there are with this. I mean, the whole point of being able to have elections, being able to go to the polls and vote for the candidate of your choice, it's supposed to be a process free of violence towards yourself. And situations like this, and here's the thing, I want to put this out here. I don't care that they were Trump supporters. They could have been Biden supporters. They could have been Jorgensen supporters. Nobody should ever be in a situation where they stand up and they're peacefully associating, because that's what it was. These people were associating peacefully, and you should never feel threat of violence for that. Now, if they were showing up with signs that said offensive things that were racist, I almost think, to be honest, they probably would have been treated differently and the police would have shown up and the police probably would have protected them. But because it's so hyper partisan right now,
Right,
and so political decisions were made that allowed people. Once again, doesn't matter if they were Trump supporters, they could have been Biden supporters, they could have been Jorgensen supporters. No, we should never be in any situation where government is directing the police to allow violence to take place and aggression to take place against people for freely associating with any candidate whatsoever.
and at its base too, Andrew, it's very important for us to note here that the people are being taught that this takes place. It has been taking place in college curricula for some time now, but now it's filtering down through high school and even into grade school, middle school, and grade school now. That anyone who disagrees with a woke viewpoint, the liberal left of center view on almost any major issue, that anyone who disagrees with that disagreement is to be construed as violence. So
Yep.
this is their justification for meeting violence with violence, except the violence that they visit upon people of more moderate and right of center viewpoints is actual literal violence. Despite what taxpayer-funded Marxists say on college campuses, this is how this piece winds up. All of the institutional and systemic oppression in this country is against white conservatives. Diversity and multiculturalism means the death of the rule of law with low IQ savagery reigning supreme. I think that's right.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, I mean, it's just interesting, and to be honest, very sad to watch the direction that things are going in our country, especially to your point, where people are now construing words as violence and then using that as justification to bring physical violence towards other people. It's like we're living in a time that people don't realize that there is a distinction between physical bodily harm and damage of one's property versus language, words, and support that you just don't like.
Yeah, I mean, diversity seems to cut only one way now. Now that the left has seized decisive control over the levers of power and culture in this country, law, academia, the mass media, pop culture, and certainly the educational system, the mask is coming off, and they are revealing to them their true selves to us in a way that's truly alarming. I mean, this, I know I'm violating Godwin's law here because we're heard on the internet, but this really has echoes of Nazi oppression of the 1930s and fascist oppression of the 1930s, the true fascists. And if you want to know what the political left is up to, look at what they it's classic projection. Look what their attitudes are, look what their actions are towards people who are of more mainstream viewpoints. They are violently, and I do mean literally violently opposed to any ideas that conflict or undermine theirs. And also, they're highly offended by logic and by reasonable, rationed discussion, because when you start to unpack their ideas, that's when it's revealed that they don't really work. Like as one example, just one glaring example, defunding the police. What could possibly come of defunding the police? Other than societal chaos.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and the defunding the police thing, I think, is very awful language in general. Because when you talk with people who support quote unquote defunding the police, usually what their idea of defunding the police isn't actually defunding the police. And it's kind of funny because right now, City of Rochester, which is totally blue, city council is all Democrats. The mayor is a Democrat. Everything totally blue, single party rule in the city of Rochester, and they voted to increase police funding.
Last I heard, they cut it. When did they increase it? I didn't know that.
Well, they did it to build more like police precincts in the city, so they're getting like an extra. I don't know. It's a significant sum of money, and so now they're under a lot of fire and scrutiny. Because of that, because they're actually spending significantly more. And the reality of the situation is, in terms of like a movement like defunding the police, I think what people really want to see is just more healthcare workers involved in mental health cases out on the street. I don't think that there are many people out there. I'm sure they definitely exist.
But those are not police functions. So if you're spending resources, scarce community resources, on mental health professionals and counselors and social workers and so forth, that's all very well and good. I question whether that's going to have much effect on the productive functioning of society. But that's last I knew. Mayor Lovely Warren and City Council had defunded Rochester Police's operating budget by $3.5 million. Now, if they're building stations or they're proposing to build police stations, that's a capital issue, which would probably come out of a different pot. But defunding police definitely happened in Rochester as a result of the riots in May and June.
Yeah, with the capital expenses, if you were to branch them out, the capital expenses made it more. But I believe you're correct, that they took out certain operating expenses as well. Guys, you're listening to Radio Free New York. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk about an interview that Andrew Cuomo's brother did recently, Chris Cuomo.
Yikes.
Yeah, it's a doozy. It's a good one. We'll talk about that when we come back on Radio Free New York.
Because you're not sheep. AM 1040 Avon Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, and FM 95.5 Spencerport.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center for today. Have those umbrellas handy. Rain will increase this morning. It looks like it'll be fairly wet as we head into the afternoon. Rain likely today. Kind of cool. We'll stay in the 40s and 50s through the afternoon. Tonight, rain tapers to showers. We'll stay in the 40s, maybe a bit of fog out there. For your Tuesday, some morning showers, then mostly cloudy. Temperatures in the low 50s. I'm Rich Cornelia, WYSL.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
In honor of the late Bat McGrath, a well-known singer and songwriter from upstate New York, and a true friend of Camp Good Days, Lou Graham has donated a guitar signed by the past and present members of Foreigner. This guitar will be raffled off to raise money for Camp Good Days. The funds from this raffle will go directly towards renovating the music activity hut at Camp Good Days and Special Times recreational facility on Cuca Lake. The hut will be rededicated in memory of Bat McGrath. Raffle tickets are 1 for $10, 3 for $20. The winner will be announced at the Music Hut rededication at Camp Good Days recreational facility on a date to be announced. Visit campgooddays.org or call Camp Good Days office at 585-624-5555 for more information.
Medicare. Polano & Company makes it easy. If you are new to Medicare or reviewing your options, give Polano & Company a call. We're local and can help you make your best decision at no cost to you. Polano & Company is located at 15 Schoen Place on the Canal in Pittsford. Call us at 585-385-6010 or visit us at polanoco.com. Polano & Company, serving the greater Rochester area for more than 35 years.
Come home to calm, quiet, and beautiful Woodgate Apartments and Townhomes in Spencerport. Just minutes from downtown Rochester. Choose from 1 or 2 bedroom apartments or 2 or 3 bedroom 2-floor townhomes in an historic canal village featuring nearby restaurants and shopping. You'll appreciate the balconies, patios, and beautiful pool. The townhomes include an attached garage. Come take a tour and meet our friendly and knowledgeable on-site staff, Cedar Circle in Spencerport, or visit WoodgatePlaceAPTS.com to learn more.
When you feel sick for whatever reason, don't wait to get help. Noise Health Urgent Care now offers telemedicine appointments using your device to meet with a provider face-to-face from the comfort of your home. Call 585-243-9595 to schedule an appointment. Noise Health Urgent Care is open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 7 days a week, even weekends and holidays. Walk-ins welcome at our Geneseo location, 50 East South Street. Digital X-ray available too. Noise Health Urgent Care. Your health care, your way.
A healthy smile has health benefits beyond just teeth. It's whole body wellness. Don't live with broken, missing, or failing teeth. Lakeview Dental can restore your smile with state-of-the-art dental care. Their approach is providing reliable, comfortable solutions for the long term. Eliminate those endless visits to deal with recurring problems with your teeth. Address your dental concerns once and for all. Find out more at LavoniaSmiles.com or call 346-3028. Lakeview Dental, for the smile of a healthier you.
Tom Walls. Let me cook you the greatest cheeseburger you've ever had. The crispiest french fries. Let me serve you a frosted mug of Tom Walls root beer. Still made one small batch at a time. Tom Walls.
Tom Walls. You're listening to Radio Free New York.
All right, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. Got Bob Savage here with me. And Bob, I saw just a really interesting interview this morning with Ice Cube and Chris Cuomo.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. It's that's just like such must-see TV. I'm just so glad you're filling me in about it.
Yeah. So apparently the left is like attacking Ice Cube over the fact that he met with the Trump campaign and is trying to not necessarily work directly with the Trump campaign, but trying to work with the President of the United States on issues that are important to him.
Horrors. Can't have that.
I know, right? This is terrible. And this just shows how bad the divide and the partisanship is in our country.
And how irrational.
Yeah, it's totally irrational because here you have a celebrity, a prominent member in the community who says, I want better for a specific group of people. And
well, refresh us. Why is Ice Cube wanting to meet with Trump again?
He wants to work with whomever the president of the United States is to create a plan that will help create a better quality of life for Black people who are very specifically descendants of slaves from Africa. So I think it's he really emphasized that throughout his interview. So I think that since he emphasized it, I'm gonna emphasize it. He said this program is not minority specific. It's specific to families who are descendants of slaves, specific to their wealth gap, education gaps, and like lack of policing in their communities. So this is a something that's important to him, and he put together a plan called Contract with Black America, and was reached out to by the Biden campaign and the Trump campaign. Both campaigns reached out to him. And what's interesting is both campaigns reached out to him about his plan, and the left has jumped all over Ice Cube saying, how dare you talk with President Trump? Are you saying that you support President Trump? And they're just like viciously attacking him to the point where he now did this interview with Chris Cuomo, of all people, on CNN, where Chris Cuomo said, well, we need to set the record straight. Are you supporting Trump? And it's painful.
It's not about Trump. From what you've described, it has nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with descendants of slaves.
Yeah, exactly. And so what Ice Cube says in this interview, and like, if you haven't seen this interview, I highly recommend you guys just watch it, because it shows how the media cannot handle somebody else's narrative. It is just a train wreck. So the title of this interview is Ice Cube Sets the Record Straight on his plans with Trump in interview with Chris Cuomo. I recommend you watch it, because right out of the gate, Cuomo comes out swinging about his support of Trump and this and that and how that's so bad. And Ice Cube says, like, what are you talking about? He's like, this isn't about the election. This is about who is president today. I have something that's important to me. I'm going to the president. If the president is Trump, that's who I'm going to, because he's the president.
Right.
And 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 Cuomo tried to like reverse the conversation minute after minute after minute, trying to, change the direction and try to get him to like either denounce Trump or just say that he's on board with Trump. And he's like, no, I'm an independent. He's like, I don't care about red team. I don't care about blue team. I care about what's important for people that I'm interested in helping in.
By the way, real quick before we pass over this point, what's your color? I know what's the libertarian color?
Gold.
Oh, is it gold?
Gold.
Okay. All right.
Yep. The libertarians are gold. And
So that's Team Gold. Got it. Okay.
Team Gold. Yep. Team Gold for sure. So, he goes through this interview, and one thing that he pointed out that is worth mentioning, he didn't say which campaign it was, but it's kind of obvious. And I think the reason he didn't say which campaign it was is because they were just railing him so hard over this. But Ice Cube says, both campaigns wanted to talk to me about the contract with Black America. One campaign said, we love what you have. Let's really dig into it after the election. And then he says, and another campaign said, we love what you have. Do you mind talking about us with it or talking to us about it? And that's what I did. So what you have here is he didn't say which campaign specifically said what, but he kind of told you because he's in trouble for talking with Trump, right? So he reached out, or the Biden campaign reached out to him, and he said, this is my plan. And they said, oh, that's great. We'll talk about it after the election. The Trump campaign reached out to him and said, this is great. Let's talk more. Let's do it now. So there you go.
Who wants to get something done here, and who wants to play politics? It's very obvious. There is no issue that the Democrats will not subvert, the political left will not subvert for political purposes. It doesn't make any difference if it's, like saving babies who have 24 hours to live. They have no interest in it unless there's an upside to them.
Yeah, it was just, in the way that, Chris Cuomo was just attacking him over this, attacking him. And here's the thing. Chris Cuomo was basically trying to tell him that he was wrong. That's really what it comes down to.
Well, sure. Yeah, you're negotiating, you're having contact with, you're dealing with Trump. And it's so irrational. What has Donald Trump ever done? You hear this ridiculous rhetoric all the time about how he's a fascist and how he's destroying our democracy. How? How's he destroying democracy? In what way? Specifically? Well, he's a racist. Really? Where's your example? Where are the facts that support your argument that Trump's a racist? Where are they?
Yeah, and the thing that was so just awful about the interview, he's sitting here telling a prominent black man in the black community that he's wrong about how to help black people.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
the
white guy. He's white-splaining to Ice Cube. Yeah.
So it was just, it was a train wreck. I think one of the biggest takeaways for me was just how mainstream media, when they can't get what they want out of you, he was like on repeat. He was just like a broken record saying the same thing over and over and over again. And Ice Cube just wouldn't give it to him. He would not give him the answer that he wanted or the answer that he was hoping for. Because really what he wanted to do, the only thing he cared about doing, was taking him on the show to have him denounce Trump.
Right.
That's the only thing, or to say something bad about Trump. And Ice Cube's like, I don't care about Trump. I care about the fact that he's the president. Yeah. I don't care about your political games.
Yeah, we
get it.
I
want to get stuff done.
Well, it's implicit in your last statement as to what the problem is here, and that is that mainstream media, everybody has to understand this, is 90% of the people who control and operate the executive power, decision-making power behind mainstream media, ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, MSNBC, PBS, all of the major the WAPO, New York Times, Los Angeles Times, all of these major league mastodons of the mainstream media are controlled by major Democrat donors. 90% of it. That's where all the money goes. That's where the power is. That's where the center of gravity is. And they are 100% invested in every sense, ideologically, financially, politically, in advancing the Democrat Party, no matter how loony they get.
Yeah.
So that's what you need to know.
Yeah, no, it's true. That's why people need to seek out independent media sources, independent reporting agencies. Look for the information yourself. Mainstream media has a very clear agenda, a very coordinated agenda, and I think this interview really, really shows you that it's very, very apparent. Guys, you're listening to Radio Free New York. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Cuomo, how he plans on distributing the coronavirus vaccine. We'll be back in a moment on Radio Free New York.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
If you're looking to market and grow your business, make new business connections, and give back to the community in a meaningful way, consider joining the Greece Regional Chamber of Commerce. We're the largest suburban chamber in Monroe County, and we offer networking, education, marketing, insurance, and advocacy. You do not need to live or work in Greece to join. Our members come from throughout the region. In short, we're better together, and together, we're moving business forward. Visit greecechamber.org or call 585-227-7272 to join today.
A reminder from Abate Monroe County. American bikers aim toward education. Distracted driving is dangerous, so pull over and eat. Don't try to read your mail and newspaper, and stay off your cell phone. Make a mental note to be more alert, making it a habit to expect the unexpected. Remember to look twice. Save a life. Train yourself to watch for motorcycles which are harder to see. Join Abate, and your family will be protected with a free $4,000 accident policy. Ride safe. Ride free. Ride often. Abate. If you ride with us. Google Abate Monroe County.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovation should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Radio Free New York.
All right. Welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. We have Bob Savage with us. And what I have for you guys today is Cuomo's proposed phases for releasing and making available the coronavirus vaccine.
Okay, so let's see here. Fredo and Big Fredo, numbers 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting because, I'm reading through this list and I don't see politicians mentioned anywhere. I don't see government officials mentioned anywhere.
I just assume they'll get it first.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say is they're not on this list to save face, but you better believe they're gonna be first in line. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if the first coronavirus vaccine that comes into New York State goes straight to Cuomo.
That's what I'm saying.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Him and his nitwit brother.
Yep, absolutely. So, you guys remember the reopening plan? Broken up into 4 phases, and then we got to phase 4, and everything was open and the economy was back to normal, right?
No, that's not. No, phase 3 and phase 4 are basically identical.
Yeah. In fact, we're still in a situation where there's a lot of things not open, not fully functional. The things that are open are some of them are just they're technically just open. I don't want to say illegally, but against executive order, and like people are just forcing the economy open themselves because the government plan was just so bad. The phases did not work right for the economy, and here we are. So that worked so well that Cuomo has decided that we're going to do a phased plan for vaccines as well. So here we are. It is 5 phases this time because four didn't cut it last time, so they split into 5 this time. In phase 1, healthcare workers, both clinical and non-clinical, in patient care settings like the ICU, the ED, EMS, those will be top priority. Among them will be long-term care facility workers who regularly interact with residents and most at-risk long-term care facility patients. So that's phase 1.
Yeah. I wonder what the criteria are for. Can you imagine like the ministry of nonsense that they've erected, the government edifice that they had to put up in order to come up with all these rules and regular. They're obsessed with this. It's all about control and who gets it where and how, with definitions and conditions, and it's this is government at its worst.
It's exhausting. That's what it is. It's exhausting. And here's the thing: you can tell, long-term care facility is in here twice for phase 1. They are trying to save face for all those deaths that they had based on their poor policies and poor planning for nursing homes.
Well, that's great because that'll bring all those people back from the dead.
Yeah, they're trying really hard. So, phase 2, here we go. You've got your first responders, fire, police, and National Guard. You have teachers and school staff that are available for in-person instruction, child care providers, and public health workers. Maybe that's where they're going to sneak in, the rest of the elected officials there in phase 2. I doubt it. I guarantee you, before phase 1 goes live, your state representatives will have this available to them. I firmly believe that. Also a part of phase 2, other essential frontline workers that regularly interact with the public, pharmacists, grocery store workers, transit employees, etc., or maintain critical infrastructure, other long-term care facility patients, and those living in other congregate settings. So this is interesting to me. Somehow the state is going to determine when you're in a long-term care facility whether or not you're going to qualify in phase 1 or not. I don't know how they're going to do that, but they're going to say, we're going to create an imaginary line here, and if you're on this side of the line, you can have the vaccine. If you're not on this side of the line, you can't have the vaccine, even though you're in the place that has the highest death rate for COVID deaths at the highest risk.
Well, they love these arbitrary, boundary lines. That's the same groupthink that gives us, you're over 1% infection level. So whatever infection level means, because we all know that the positive test results from COVID exposure tests are being counted as, quote, cases, whether or not people are sick or even symptomatic.
Yep. So the state's going to determine, they're going to choose who does and doesn't qualify for this. The last thing in phase 2 is going to be individuals in the general population deemed particularly high risk due to health conditions.
What the hell is that supposed to mean?
Yeah, exactly. So general that nobody has any clue whatsoever.
No, and they never will, because a lot of these things are not susceptible of being defined precisely.
So then we move on to phase 3. And phase 3 says individuals over 65 and individuals under 65 with high risk, which is very confusing because I thought phase 2 said people that were high risk, but maybe only high risk due to health conditions, and maybe phase 3 is just high risk generally speaking. Don't know.
Well, these are the fine
No
people.
idea.
These are the same fine people who brought you the SAFE Act, and which is abominably vague and chaotic and impossible to enforce in many cases. And then they also brought you the wonderful COVID shutdown that's been so helpful to the state and has basically destroyed the economy.
Yeah. So they're now choosing who does and doesn't get vaccines. Phase 4, all other essential workers, even though I think phase 2 included most frontline workers for the most part. So I guess there's just going to be some of you that are essential, just not essential enough to have the vaccine. So you will be in phase 4. And then bringing up the very rear of the line, the very last place in phase 5 is the rest of the population.
Except for white conservatives, particularly males, who are in phase 6.
Yeah. Which phase 6 isn't listed on here, so you're just out of luck.
Oh, we didn't. Oh well, we'll get back to you on that. This is totally asinine. I'm going to throw a bomb here. I don't want the damn vaccine. I don't want the stupid thing, and I want to go back too. By the way, what were the first phases were essential? Like ICU, emergency department, first responders, police, fire, blah blah blah. One wonders, is it going to be mandatory for them? In these first urgent phases, are they going to be forced to have the vaccine with potentially career-ending sanctions being held over their heads? Or are they going to get to decide to have it or not? I'm thinking, no. I'm thinking they're going to be forced to have this damn thing.
I agree with you, and here's why. You go to a store and they say, sorry, you can't come in here without a mask on to save somebody's life. Guaranteed the state is going to say, you can't come to work without the vaccine. You're putting somebody's life in danger.
Right.
That I believe. Yeah, absolutely. I think that will become a thing. I mean, I've gone to places where you got to go through temperature reading with a mask on, all this stuff just to get through the door. Once this vaccine comes out, it's not going to be available to the general population. It's going to be available to who is picked and chosen, who gets it. The quantity is not going to be enough to serve the general population anyways. And yeah, they might tell people, oh, you can't get the vaccine? Sorry, you can't come to work. And here's the thing. How much time have they had to test the vaccine? Probably not a lot. So we don't know what adverse reactions there could be.
That's what I'm
to
saying.
this vaccine.
I don't want the damn thing. You know what? I've been perfectly fine. I've lived through the COVID scare pandemic perfectly fine up to now. I'll do without it. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So we're talking about potentially having our frontline workers take a rather fresh, new, maybe not so tested vaccine to continue work. I don't know. Doesn't sound good, guys. Guys, you're listening to Radio Free New York. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow.